Rugby is everywhere in Wales, with the Principality right in the heart of Cardiff city centre, and being one of only 5 countries where 15-a-side rugby is their national sport, the participation reflects that. In 2016, Wales had 1 registered player out of every 37 people, compared to 1 in every 64 in Ireland and 1 every 145 in England. It's played at every level: club, university and socially. However, in recent years, Welsh rugby has been marred with the use of performance-enhancing drugs, with over 16 players being banned for failing tests in the past 5 years alone.
As a player and a big rugby fan myself, I decided to investigate why performance-enhancing drug use is so rampant in Welsh rugby and how it's affecting the game.
Merthyr Rugby Club have won the Welsh Premiership for the past 3 years, but in 2015 they had a player banned for testing positive for anabolic steroids. I went to a training session to chat to some of their players.
So basically I've been playing for about 15 years now, I guess, from under 16s. Started off with my local club under Sybull, moved up to semi-pro level with Pontypridd, and then stepped up into professional rugby with Wales Sevens and Cardiff Blues.
So throughout the time that you've been playing, have you obviously been playing a lot of Sevens, but have you noticed the 15s game change at all?
Yeah, I guess just from the level I was playing at, I guess that physicality, that that weights mentality, whatever, being part of that professional environment, I think players are naturally going to get bigger. I think there's been a massive focus throughout clubs, really. I think just the bigger you are, the better you are, that kind of mentality. So I guess there's definitely been a change in terms of players' size over the last couple of years.
But so along with that though, I don't know whether it's a result of people already being bigger, people trying to catch up. There's obviously quite a issue with performance-enhancing drugs in Welsh rugby. Have you ever come across this through playing alongside people or against people?
No, obviously you do hear the stories in Welsh rugby and in rugby, a sport in general, I guess. But in terms of me knowing anyone personally who's been banned or taking performance-enhancing drugs, I've never known one personally for me. So, like I said, you do hear of the stories that do keep creeping up. The way that they test it these days, especially when I was playing at the professional level, you get tested every couple of weeks. Yeah. That was when you're at home training, or when we were away. The Sevens, definitely you get tested every tournament. So it's really strict. And in terms of my experience, is no stone unturned, I suppose. But at lower level, I can't really comment.
Do you think that some people are though in the league?
I think probably no doubt. I think if we look at in sport, whatever sport in general, I think there's always people who are going to try and push the boundaries, or try and get away with these sort of actions. Really.
Adam gave me an insight into why players might turn to performance-enhancing drugs to help out their careers. But through playing internationally, his experience of testing was uncommon. I therefore decided to chat to a player who'd be able to give me a more typical insight into the testing procedures.
Well, you don't want to think that anyone on the pitch is doped, because you're just degrading all the hard work they've done to get to that point. So you don't want to think that anyone has doped. But obviously, it is present. You hear rumours, you hear stories from other clubs, your own club, but you don't know how much is true to a certain extent. Obviously there's some people who might be less keen to be around when the testers come running, but you don't want to point fingers and name names, but there are boys around, you hear stories, but yeah, it's whether it's rumour or whether it's true, it's hard to quantify.
So you mentioned the testers coming around. How frequent, how many times have you been tested yourself?
I've been tested 3 times in the last 5 years, so it's relatively infrequent, but they come normally. When I was in academy, they came once a season, and then Welsh Prem, it's been between 2 and 6 times a season.
But each time they just select a couple of players?
It's between 2, I think match days is 2 or 3, and then training it's anywhere up to 6 or 7.
So, and is that completely random, or do they know beforehand who they're going to be?
It's completely random.
Okay.
The team manager submits a list of who's there on the date, and they don't tell him until the end of the session. So then he comes and notifies us at the end. So there's minimal chance of people to run away.
After finding out how easy getting away with doping theoretically could be, I wanted to learn more about the drugs themselves, so I spoke to an anonymous user of various performance-enhancing drugs.
I worked in construction and heavy industry. People do use it in that industry to work harder, like particularly in construction, where I've worked with bricklayers. A lot of them have used steroids just to be able to do their job if they're on a piece rate. the more bricks you can lay in a day, the more money you'll make. So it seems pretty common to me. Like, I know people who do it, and obviously we discuss it, and obviously different ways of going about using the things more safely.
So you mentioned how sort of common you think it is. How easy is it to get hold of it? Do you buy it online? Where do you get it from?
Yeah, I buy online, but then other people, like gyms, is quite common. When I was about 16, 17, I used to go to the gym quite a lot there back then, and I was offered things and I wasn't interested at the time.
So would people just literally walk up to you and say, do you want this to help improve your
the guy who was offering actually worked at the gym. I guess that's pretty common, actually, I would have thought. This was a council run leisure centre, so
and is someone employed by
he was a
them.
local authority employee, and that was 15 years ago, so I can't imagine it's changed there.
And do you think it's becoming more popular, or?
Yeah, I see like some of the younger kids now around the place, 18, 19, and you can see that they've been taking it.
Given that it is quite easy to get hold of, then how expensive usually is it?
Well, the testosterone itself is about £40 for a 10ml bottle. The needles you just go and get at a chemist, so you do the needle exchange thing. But then there's other things you need to take as well if you're doing it properly, and that's quite expensive. So
would there be people that would just like not want to spend more money or not be able to afford the safe way of doing it, so therefore do it in unsafe ways? Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, or not even know. I guess there's a lot of people who are not really researching the things properly. They're just being told by their friends, oh, let's do this, and that's kind of how I got into it, and then started looking at the things I was taking and realised I had to make changes. So you do testosterone, but testosterone, steroids and all of the other ones, how do you sort of feel physically stronger, or do you just not get tired? You are less tired, your sleep is better, so you feel more energised, and then obviously performance. With this sort of increased strength and energy levels, do you believe that if you had taken some and then were to play a physical contact sport such as rugby, it would have a big impact? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have played rugby in the past when I was younger. I used to play for my village and the school and on a league level. So yeah, if I'd been taking steroids then, and the year group below us when I was playing youth rugby, they were all taking steroids, and they were only about 16, and we were literally a year older, and they were much stronger than we were because they were all of them on it. I was shocked by just how common these drugs seem to be, particularly the young age that some people start taking them. Clearly, performance-enhancing drugs are a big issue, dramatically affecting Welsh rugby, but it seems their use is far wider than just sport, and it is a countrywide problem that's only getting worse.